Hello, welcome back to my daily Atlas Mountain Race updates. This is day 3 and let's get over to the tracker and have a little look and see what's been going on. We've had a bit of a shake up front. So currently as we speak, the leading couple of riders have made it through CP3. So we currently have a new leader. So Ole Bjorn Smithagel, I'm sorry about my pronunciation. So he's been leading most of the day. So last night Victor Bazzoni was leading, but he elected to ride off course probably 15-20 minutes to find an auberge to sleep overnight. And in that time, Ole Bjorn, he's taken the lead. And Victor actually dropped down to about 5th place this morning when I checked. However, over the course of the day, he's gradually caught back up and overtaken the other guys in the top 5. And you can see these top 5 have kind of separated themselves away from the rest of the field. So you've kind of got like a top 5, maybe a little race for the top 10. And then we've got our leading women here, and the gap between Cynthia Carson and Kerry McPhee is really shut down as well. I suspect, I know Kerry is really strong on a mountain bike, and I suspect her skills are probably a little bit better than Cynthia over the really rough terrain, and they have pretty much just ridden over the roughest part of the route, which is the old Colonial Road, which is this section through here. Very exciting, and the race is far from over, and there's lots to go down still. Plenty to be looking for over the next few days. Before I dig into more details and go dig a bit further into the route and what's to come for the leading riders, let's look at some of the sponsors. Of course, you know by now, Enduro Bearings are supporting my coverage of the Atlas Mountain Race, and as well as all the bearings and things they also do some excellent high quality toolkits as well. So they do obviously replacement wheel bearings, they do complete bottom brackets and headsets and things like that, but they also do all the tools you need to replace them. Bearing presses for pressing in hub bearings, things like that, and I've got a set of these myself. The bearing presses, they're very high quality, excellent stuff, and definitely worth the investment if you're a bit of a home mechanic and like to do things yourself. They've got all the bottom bracket tools, everything like that, and yeah, as I said, super high quality, so check them out, and definitely consider them if you if you're fed up of paying a lot of money to your local bike shop, then why not just buy some decent tools and learn how to do it yourself. That's the kind of thing that pays itself back quite quickly. As well as that, we have Buxton Box, the premium bike boxes. So I've touched on a few of the different models yesterday. So the Von 2 box is probably the most popular one. They do a road and a mountain bike version, and I've actually got one of the samples. This shows the corner of one of the boxes. I'll just go back onto full screen here so you can actually see what I'm showing you. This is a kind of a sample, like the bottom corner of one of the boxes, and shows you the construction inside. So really tough, nice solid sides. The nice thing about having these sides as well is you can leave your pedals on your bike, so you don't have to take them off transport. And as you can see, the hubs are connected via these adapters. You can remove these adapters so you can change it between sort of mountain bike or road bike, different axle widths and diameters. So you can change. You can change it depending on your bikes or multiple bikes. This is the rear hub one, so it's got a nice chain holder as well. Because the bike's held in place, it's not going to rattle around inside the bike box. So it's going to be held nice and secure, and hopefully arrive at your destination in one piece, which is not something that always happens, judging by some of the stories when riders arrived in Beni before the race on this event. So that's enough of the sponsors. So let's get over. We'll take another look at the tracker, and we'll dive a bit deeper into this kind of sort of top 10 overall and the leading women. As you know, yesterday Sebastian was riding for a lot of the day, but it seems like as I said, I suspected he might have gone out a bit too hard. But it seems like he's maybe not been as conservative with his sleeping strategy as, say, for example, Victor. If we go on to the graphs, and we'll put the top 5 in, so that will cover the guys on screen here. And actually, Sebastian and Victor, they have been. You can see they're tracking. This is Victor's a red, Sebastian's the sort of orangey yellow colour. And you can see they've been sleeping quite a bit more than the other guys. However, I'll come on to the Instagram stories in a while. It does seem that Sebastian's developed quite a bad cough and seems to have slowed down as a result. Now, we did sleep outside a couple of nights and Victor slept inside. Having a cough is just something that happens in the Atlas Mountain Race. It's quite a dry environment. There's lots of dust. Every time I've done it, so I've finished it 3 times now, and every time I've had a pretty grim cough, and you're hacking up all sorts of interesting coloured things out of your chest. That's kind of part of the core. But Sebastian seems to be struggling quite a lot. In actual fact, I'll dig up the Instagram story now so you can see exactly what I'm on about. So yeah, this was him yesterday afternoon, and it's in German. I know Sebastian's got a lot of followers who are watching this, so you guys will know what he's saying. I've got the gist of it, but you can just hear his breathing in his chest. It just sounds pretty bad. So I suspect it's going to start slowing him down a little bit.
Ich habe ein Problem. Ich kann nicht mehr richtig atmen. Ich habe eben verkackt. Also so lange, boah, Alter, das ist gerade die Hölle. Also so lange übelst windig war, habe ich meinen Buff nicht angezogen. Meine Lunge ist so zu. Alter. Scheiße. Oh. Ich dachte erst, ich hätte irgendwie den Hungerast oder so. Aber das ist es gar nicht. Ich habe einfach keine Power, weil ich nicht atme.
So yeah, he really does look like he's suffering there. I mean, I don't think you need to understand German necessarily to know how he's feeling. Now, there's a few reasons why I think this kind of happens on the Atlas Mountain Race. So this section they're on at the moment, let me go over to Riber GPS because it's probably a bit of a better it kind of gives you a better view of it. So a lot of this middle section is quite remote, it's relatively high. It's not super high altitude. So the high point was just under 3,000, sort of, I think probably 2,600, 2,700. But then you see this section in the middle, there's a lot of quite sustained time around sort of 14, 15, 1600, and the air does get quite dry up there. And just you're outside all day, like I say, it's dusty and it's been extremely windy as well. And I think a couple of the riders have said they've been riding into a headwind. We did see yesterday when I put the wind layer up that the riders were predominantly riding into a headwind, and all of that just kind of dries your throat out, dries your lungs out, everything. And every year you get riders struggling, and it looks like the wind is kind of dying down a little bit now, but these riders at the front are going to be heading back into it as they kind of head out of the mountains. So yeah, they're like, just the wind does just dry your lungs out. You want to be covering your mouth if you can with like a buff or something. A, it keeps the dust out, and B, it kind of just keeps the moisture from your breath from escaping. It can make quite a substantial difference. So it seems like Sebastian's struggled. He's also been sleeping outside. It's amazing sometimes in these events, even at altitude, you really have a cough and then you drop down lower and it just stops when there's a bit more moisture in the air. And sometimes just being warm, breathing warmer air, staying inside, like Victor's been doing, it can make the difference. And obviously Victor and Sebastian, they've been riding at a similar rate for the first part, but Victor's just been sleeping inside, whereas Sebastian seems to have been bivvying outside. And I think that is kind of making the difference. I've actually been very, very impressed with Victor and his kind of his maturity and in the way he's racing. And before the Old Colonial Road last night, he rode sort of almost 10k off route to find an auberge to stay in while leading, and to have the confidence in your ability and know that's what you want to do, ride your own race, to ride off route like that, let 4 or 5 riders come back and then carry on in the morning and catch them all up. That just shows a hell of a lot of confidence. And I think also because it was the Old Colonial Road section, he, which is through here, so the lead women are on at the moment. That's one of the hardest, if not the hardest section of the race. It's quite high, it's very rough, and basically Victor did that fresh, and the others kind of bivvied and didn't have as good a quality rest. So I think he's played a very smart move there, and yeah, he's almost back with Ole Bjorn, who hasn't rested as much. So at the moment for me, I mean, anything can happen on this race, but Victor's looking in a very, very strong position. Sebastian, again, we know he's a really strong rider. I do wonder if if that cough, it's probably not going to go now. It might do when he gets down to the coast, but that could be too late. Ole, he's obviously super strong, but he's not rested quite as much. So we'll see. I've got a story from him in a minute. Looks like he was riding relatively conservatively yesterday. But I also know that Victor's incredibly strong on the climbs. If we go back to the Riber GPS, you can see now that riders have this kind of long flat section. Well, as it stands now, it's kind of roughly downhill. There are a few climbs, but they're on the road, so these riders it'll feel fairly easy to them. Then you've got this long section through the desert, which might be rideable, might not be rideable. It depends how strong they are, how much pressure they let out their tires, and also the conditions. If it's been quite wet in Morocco over the past weeks, it might be a lot firmer than it was last year. So last year I ended up walking most of it. And the year before I rode all of it because it was just the sand was firmer. So it could make a difference in the race. It might not be quite so much, but then this final section, there's some really hard climbs, and Victor's a really strong rider. And it might just having that extra rest might just give him the edge, given he's quite a small guy, really strong in the mountains. So yeah, for me at the moment, Victor is looking extremely strong, but it's the Atlas Mountain Race. Anything can happen. Elsewhere, so Chris Mellman, he put a story up yesterday at some point. So night 3, he just said time for a nap and hopefully help the knee. So that kind of suggests he's got ice or something on his knee there. He's having some kind of knee issues, and I think that probably tells on the track. He's kind of dropped off that top 5, or a little bit back on the top 5, and he's probably slept the least out of these guys. So him and Radoslav, they seem to have not slept an awful lot. So I suspect it might mean they start slowing down a bit. So for me, the top 3 at the moment, Ole, Bjorn, Victor and Sebastian, I think they're going to start potentially dragging away, but we do have a little question mark over Sebastian's health. Also, Ole Bjorn, he got quite sunburned. I read it in one of the posts from the Atlas Mountain Race account. So he was riding in his long sleeve jersey, and he'd been suffering with the sun a bit. He lost his sunscreen early on. Again, sunburn is something that does kind of just burn more energy and slows your recovery. And these races are all about recovery. I think the days of sleeping, remember Sofian won this race, the first edition, basically didn't sleep the whole race. Those days are gone now. It's all about sleeping more, riding harder, and yeah, Victor's kind of one of these new generations of riders who've not been trying to push the sleep. He's just started on a high on the high sleep, high speed kind of system, and it seems to be working for him. So yeah, going to be very exciting regardless. For me at the moment, Victor's looking strong, but as I said, anything can happen. A little bit further back, so Thomas Beret, he seems to have dropped off the pace a little bit compared to yesterday. Again, you can never rule out Thomas. He's super strong and very, very determined. But yeah, it looks like he's kind of dropped away from that top 5. Adam Jordan, you may remember, he was really strong in the first night, dropped out a bit, but he seems to have ridden his way back in. Mark Buchel, he's been, he was 11th, I think, last year. Nicolo Vallerini, I don't know much about him, but again, super strong ride. Max Rice, again, he's well proven at these events, done Silk Road many a time. He was 4th at the Tour Divide last year. So again, anything could happen inside this top 10, and I do expect we'll have some scratches in the top 10 as well before the race is out. And then Juan Antonio Fletcher, he's in no man's land at the moment, but he's ex-pro, he's got all those miles in his legs. And he seems to have come through really strong, and he's going to be challenging for the top 10 for sure. At the moment, he's in 11th. I wouldn't be surprised if he finished inside the top 10. So he's got across the Colonial Road now, and that's one of the kind of the tougher sections of the route. For me, once you cross the old Colonial Road, you're not home and dry by a long way, but you're definitely starting to break the back of it, and I'd say that's probably the hardest single off-road section. The sections after that, they're just not as rough and not as rugged. So yeah, it's going to favour a rider who's got a massive road background. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how one gets on. And then Floris Blatt, he's just coming off the Colonial Road now. Again, he was third at Hellenic last year. I spent quite a lot of time crisscrossing with him in that race. So he's a strong rider. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised as well if he could make the top 10 by the time it's all done. And then the women, as I said, Cynthia and Kerry seem to have closed up. I suspect Kerry, well, I know Kerry's a really, really strong mountain biker, probably more of a mountain biker than Cynthia. Has got more of a gravel background, and this is the really rough section. All this section is super rough, super rugged, loose at times. It's really going to favour Kerry, and I think she's making it pay, and she's closed the gap down. It looks like to be about 10k, something like that. So yeah, 10k is nothing in the Atlas Mountain Race. So that's going to be really, really exciting, and hopefully we get a bit more media. I've not seen much from either of them, so they're obviously racing really hard. Hopefully we can get a bit more media from those guys. If not, we should see some stuff. You can see the control cars here, so hopefully tomorrow we'll have some photos of the Colonial Road. At the moment, everyone seems to be in a quite remote area, so I've not actually got that many updates to work with on the social media, so I'm sure it'll be a bumper edition tomorrow. So yeah, very excited to see how the women's race pans out. As I say, it's going to be a bit more pedal friendly in the second half, so that could favour Cynthia a little bit, but you just never know. So yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on that. And then if we zoom out, the Cristiana Tamburini, she's a little bit further back now in third, so it looks like the race is between Cynthia and Kerry for the win in the women's race. And worth saying as well, they're both tracking in the top 20 overall, or just about in top 25 overall anyway. And then, yeah, the rest of the race is spread all over the mountains. So the snail, the snail denotes the slowest point to the cutoff. So it is that Avra? I think it's Avra down here somewhere. So yeah, there's quite a few riders outside of the cutoff now. So I think we'll be seeing quite a few scratches from this bunch here. The strong winds have still been affecting the race. But yeah, it's been extraordinarily attritional. It looks like almost half the riders are behind the snail pace at the moment. So yeah, very attritional as always on the Atlas Mountain Race. So I'm just going to finish up. A couple more posts left. Let's start with this one. So this was from Ole Bjorn yesterday. He's actually put quite a long, detailed post up. I won't play it all here, but if you find his Instagram account, you'll be able to get a pretty good update. But yeah, I found this particular clip quite insightful and interesting, and a bit of a clue as to what might be going down in the next day or so of this race.
So yesterday was basically 2 long steady climbs, like 80k climbs, and block headwind on both of them. It was just hard going, and it isn't too motivating trying to push crazy watts into a headwind, because it just increases the drag. So I've just been trying to save for when it like really matters, because up the climbs you need to do the heavy watts just to make it up. So just trying to do like a steady pace, and then we reached the village.
So yeah, I just found that interesting that it was a headwind yesterday, and rather than sort of push into it, he's decided to basically try and save as much energy as possible while still making good progress forward. So yeah, so when's he going to use that energy? So I think it could be a showdown with maybe Victor and Sebastian in the final couple of days. So yeah, a lot to look forward to still. And then this is just a post on the Atlas Mountain Race account, obviously. So that's Sebastian. He's looking pretty fast and strong on that position there. But this just sums up CP2. So Sebastian arrived, rolled in at about 8 minutes past 1. Victor followed half an hour later, and Ole Bjorn another sort of 25 minutes after that. So Sebastian slept 4 hours somewhere out in the desert, and he moved through the checkpoint with urgency, hoping for a quick meal, insisting on plain couscous. Well, he must have a stomach for it still. So he must have been in and out within 15 minutes. So yeah, it just sounds like his head's in it, definitely, but hopefully his health will hold together. And then the note about Ole arrived quite badly sunburnt, having lost his sun cream. He's been wearing his long sleeve jersey as much as possible until he gets too hot. When asked how he was going, he said, "Falling in the river didn't help." So yeah, that's a nice thing. All these riders have had really had an adventure out there, and I've only really focused on the front part of the race. It's hard to cover the whole of the race, but every rider from the start to the finish has their kind of their stories like that. So I'll leave it there today. As I said, plenty to look forward to in this Atlas Mountain race. I'll be back tomorrow with another update. If you're enjoying it and you haven't yet subscribed, then please consider doing that so you don't miss it. And as always, thank you for watching, and see you again tomorrow.